What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Variant the Podcast. I'm here with Tim Conley, as always. Oh, and my name is Arris, right?
You are Arris. I am Tim. Greetings, Variant Nation. What's going on, everybody? What's going on, Arris?
My goal was to make the most awkward open ever for today's podcast. People are like, wait,
you start
what?
talking backwards, that'll do it.
Yeah. So, we have a lot to talk about today, as always. But But I do have a story that happened to me last night. Just know it's not.
Does it have to do with ghosts or aliens?
It has to do with burnt chest hair.
Well, that's almost a ghost. A ghost maybe in the making.
Now, I will say the title of the story, or at least, how I'm teasing it, sounds a lot more interesting than, what it really is.
You're hyping it up unnecessarily.
Yeah, just want to warn everyone that, burnt chest hair, I was like, oh, this is going to be a story. It's a little funny, but don't get too hyped about it. Is what I'm saying.
Just everybody calm down.
It's not as good as my my story where I actually haven't told it yet, and I gotta save that. But there's a story where one time I went to a Comic-Con and didn't know I was at a Comic-Con.
What?
That's a true story. That is a tease. We will leave that for another day. But there's a moment in my life when I was at a Comic-Con and had no idea that I was at a Comic-Con.
Well, that story is absolutely going to involve drugs, without any question.
I'm gonna let you and everyone just be teased on that cliffhanger like the end of WandaVision last week. Anyway, burnt chest hair. So long story short,
burnt chest hair by Arris Quinones.
Last night, me and my wife were watching TV in the living room, right? So, we watched our movie or whatever, then we go to our bedroom. But when I come back out to get water, it smells like eggs for some reason, like sulfur, like in the kitchen for some reason.
Man, like the way you started that story, I thought it was about to get freaky. I was like, all right, let's go to the bedroom, burnt chest hair. Everybody just calm down.
This is going to turn R-rated real quick. Anyway, I come out, and it smells like egg sulfur. And my wife saying, she comes out, so she's like, yeah, what does that smell? It's like, it smells like eggs. And I'm like thinking, is it like the garbage disposal? Because, sometimes food gets stuck in there or something if you don't clean it out and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
Or is there something in the garbage? Did the dog fart? Like, what's happening, right?
Dog fart.
Right, he sleeps in the living room, right?
Just sitting there staring at you. Don't look at me.
Yeah, I have a boxer. His bed is in our living room, so I'm like, it's a dog. He farts all the time. So I'm like, could be him. But point is, we didn't figure out where the smell came from, unfortunately. So I'm like, okay. Even though I was going to bed, I'm like, I don't want the center of my house smelling like freaking rotten egg. So like one does to get rid of smells, especially when they had a time in the bathroom. Let's just say things went awry in the bathroom. What do? You light a match. Right. You light a match to get rid of bad smells, right? Yeah. And then when you blow it out, the smell gets rid of the smell, or the bad stink you're trying to get rid of, whatever you want to call it, right? Anyway, long story short, it's like 1 a.m, okay? 1:30 in the morning. I'm in freaking basketball shorts, no t-shirt, because I'm about to go to bed,
Right.
So I'm like, whatever. So my wife she's looking, she's staring at me because at this point our baby woke up, right? So that's fun. So she's holding the baby. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to light a match. I'm going to try to get rid of the smell. So she's looking at me for whatever reason, like this is going to be entertaining, which I guess she knew it was going to be entertaining because what happened next was the burnt chest hair. So I took the box of matches up, right? I strike the match against the box, as you do, except the tip of the match broke off and fired backwards into my chest.
Stop.
Got stuck on my skin as it was burning, and proceeded to burn some of the chest hair on my left pectoral.
No way.
So not only did this not get rid of whatever bad smell that was, whether it was coming from the garbage or wherever.
But it added to it.
It added to it with the burnt chest hair. And now I have a burn mark on my chest along with singed chest hair. I have a bald spot on my left pectoral now.
What on earth?
And she sees it and she's like, because she's like, I'm like, did you see it on fire? Because obviously I patted it out real quick, but she's like, I saw like a little flame just stuck on your chest. I'm like, good. So now I go obviously to the bathroom. I pat it down because it burns a little bit, and then I come back out to the kitchen because I forgot to get my water because of all the freaking chaos that ensued. And now it smells like eggs and burnt hair, and that's how my night ended.
That is an unfortunate turn of events.
I am going to, dude. It was so weird though. It was in slow motion because it's like, of course the match would break off and the tip would fire backwards and burn, some of my chest hair. It's like, what is even happening? And it's like 1:30 in the morning. It smells now like even worse. I don't know.
Let me tell you something, Arris. You got some weird fetishes, man.
Dude, when I woke up this morning though, the smell was gone. So I don't know if it was, my dog farting, if it was just the garbage disposal and it went away over the night. I don't know. But all that
this was a traumatic evening for you.
Because it's like one of those things where it's like, it wasn't the garbage because I didn't take the garbage out. It was late. I was annoyed after that, so I just left the garbage there. So I know the smell wasn't coming from there, or else it would have been there in the morning. And I'm assuming it wouldn't be the garbage disposal either, because you think it would still be there unless like whatever was in there went away, it just stopped smelling. I don't know. I'm blaming it on my dog Gus. It was him. He's freaking having egg farts.
As you should. As you should. You might as well.
See, and that's the burnt chest hair. That's my story.
Oh my God. Well, I do have a bit of a tragedy of my own.
Does it involve burnt chest hair?
It does not involve burnt chest hair or egg fart. It just so it's not quite as mysterious. As you know, I am a collector, as you are, and I have a little while ago I did something that I dubbed Tim Did Something, where I just bought a whole bunch of high-end collectibles at one shot, like impulsively.
I'm familiar with this.
Yeah, you're familiar, and I was unveiling them to you one by one as they came in. Well, yesterday, I get a email from Sideshow Collectibles, who is also a friend of the show, and they inform me that two of my favorite pieces in the Tim Did Something order were canceled, and it's because Chronicle Collectibles, who I've been a fan of for quite some time, as you have been, and we've actually spoken to at cons and so forth, abruptly went out of business.
So weird. Do you know if it has anything to do with the pandemic?
It seems as though they've been having some financial struggles for a while, and it kind of just the pandemic was the nail in the coffin. But the way it went down was, I guess, the very odd, because they had a whole bunch of outstanding orders and they didn't tell anybody anything. So there's a whole bunch of people, including myself, who paid for items and have been waiting for a long time. Not to mention they had just a slew of other products that they had already set up and had pre-orders on, and people paid and did their down payment and the whole thing. And none of those are going to get fulfilled now. So everything is getting canceled and getting refunded and all that stuff. Thankfully, I ordered my stuff, which this is why it's so disappointing. I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan. It's one of the iconic films from my childhood. It's one of the main films that made me want to be a filmmaker. Me and my brother, that's kind of our thing. My brother Ryan, who is a filmmaker himself, a very brilliant one, I might add. No bias there. He's my brother, but he is. But him and I went and saw it together as kids, and it just it just had a huge impact on us. So we both collect a Jurassic Park memorabilia and stuff. And two of the things it was that I had ordered were Jurassic Park prop replicas. That they had the exclusive license for Jurassic Park stuff, and the two things it's the first time I'd ever seen anybody make it. It was the exact prop replica of the cryo can, the Barbasol cryo can.
Yeah,
it was the exact replica, and I actually had gotten one for myself, and I bought one for my brother as a Christmas gift, because I was supposed to get it in November. Then it got pushed to December. Then it got pushed to January, and so on. And now they just flat out canceled it. So I was so super, super bummed. But the other one was the Jurassic Park night vision goggles from inside the Ford Explorer.
I saw those in person at Dallas Comic-Con about 2 years ago when they were just prototypes. They had them on the floor there, like for people to like look at them and hopefully pre-order them so they can go into production. And those things were
awesome.
So cool.
I was so stoked.
I didn't know you had those on pre-order.
I know. I was going to surprise you. I was going to show you when I got them, like I had been everything else. I was so jacked about those two things. And I just got the canceled order, and so I'm not going to get them. And now I'm just like, man, is anybody else going to make these? Because, I mean, they came with a stand that had the Jurassic Park logo on it and everything. I mean, it was an exact replica. I mean, it was just perfect.
I think it was one of the coolest things, because like you said, they had the Barbasol can, they had the walking stick and all that stuff. But I think the goggles, at least from what I saw in person,
it was the coolest of the two.
For sure. Especially with that, like you said, it came with a custom stand to where like just kind of like hovered there. Dude, so cool.
I was so excited. And I know this is totally first world problems. I get
for sure.
Yeah, but the biggest shock of the whole thing was that Chronicle Collectibles just abruptly went out of business and vanished. Like they had lawyers, their bankruptcy lawyer has released a letter saying, hey, we're trying to get these things resolved as quickly as possible, get money refunded to people, et cetera, et cetera. Just kind of a sad situation because they're actually based right here in North Texas.
Yep. Yes, they are. I believe, they're about like 30 minutes from where we record and shoot Variant. So
that's right.
Yep.
That's right. So they're right here in our area, and it was just, or they were, sad to, but very, very sad to hear that. And, I was shocked, man, and also incredibly bummed because those two collectibles, man, I was so jacked about adding those to my collection.
Glass half full. Now you get the money back. And you could either pocket it again or pick something else.
I'm actually already looking at what I'm going to replace it with. So one of the things I'm going to replace it with for sure is a 1/1 scale exact replica of Gizmo from the Gremlins.
Ooh, does Sideshow have that? Do they have that on their site?
Yep. That is a Sideshow. Sideshow has it, but it's made by Trick or Treat Studios.
But it's like they distribute like everything. It's like, what doesn't Sideshow have on their website?
They've added a ton to the distribution level. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm looking at that one and I'm eyeballing, and I think I'm going to snatch it up because I think they have it in stock. It's the let me see. What do you call it? It's an exact replica of the
Gizmo.
Huh? No. No, of the Emperor's scepter from the Dark Crystal.
Oh, wait. So wait, did you say Gizmo? Did you not say Gizmo from Gremlins before?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. So this is the second piece is what you're talking about.
This is the second one. So I'm definitely going to get Gizmo. I'm definitely going to get Gizmo. I think the second one that I'm going to get is with them as a replacement to my Jurassic Park losses is it's a prop replica 1/1 scale of the Emperor's scepter from the Dark Crystal. That's also made by Chronicle Collectibles, but it was already made, produced, and shipped. So
they have them
I
in
think
stock.
Sideshow, has it in stock, so I can still get it. So I'm probably going to snatch that up.
But that means if it sells out, that's it. Like, because they're not going to produce anymore.
Once it's gone, it's gone.
So that means you should probably click that right now. Order to lock yourself in.
Right? Yeah. So those are at least I think I'm going to grab those two things, and then after that, I'm not sure because combined it was like I don't know. I don't want to say. It was a lot. It was a lot.
You're basically saying even with those two pieces, you have more funds left over to get something else.
Yeah, for sure.
You just be responsible and save it.
Yeah, I might. That's a great point.
But
I am a saver. You know that I'm a saver. So
fine. Okay, be nice and get me something then. It's fine.
Hey, I already have. Okay. All right. I've already got a couple of brownie points in that pile.
I'm just saying, if you can't figure out what to do with it, me and other people can,
I'm sure there's a lot of people that, would be like, hey, I got a couple of places you could put that money.
It's like, funny you should say that. I do have an Amazon wish list. I do want the new PS5.
Yeah, that's my new thing. Whenever anybody says like, hey, what, because they always ask my wife, like, hey, what can I get Tim? Like, what would Tim like or something like that? I told my wife a while ago, here's where my wish lists are. Just everything because I'm not a hard person to get for if you know me. So it's like, there you go. But yeah, RIP Chronicle Collectibles. Yeah, I am sad to see them go.
That is sad. They were branching out and had a lot of different licensings the last or licenses rather, the last 2 years or so too. I think they were having a. I don't know if it was them. I think they were doing something with Ghostbusters, if memory serves me correctly, which I was excited about.
They had because Sideshow. I actually don't know who makes it. Sideshow was actually they just added to their site. You could get it was an exact replica of the Ghost Trap.
Oh yeah!
Did you see that?
Yeah, that's amazing.
It was the Ghost Trap. They were exact replicas of the Ghost Trap and the Ecto. No, I'm sorry. It's the Ecto goggles.
Okay. Oh, so
Ecto goggles. Okay. Yeah. So, and those both are made by Hollywood Collectibles. So that's not Chronicle, but they do have exact prop replicas of the Ghost Trap, Ghostbusters Ghost Trap, and Ecto goggles.
So they don't have the proton pack then.
No proton pack.
Okay. That would. I mean. No, dude, I don't know. I don't think, a lot of people know this unless they've watched Film Riot, but you remember this when I guess I guest starred in a Film Riot episode and I was a Ghostbuster, so we actually
It was the same time that we did the Ghostbusters episode on Variant.
Right. So, yes. Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, it was a crossover episode.
Yeah. So then, longtime watchers of the show do know that I actually have my very own Ghostbuster jumpsuit with name tag and everything. It's like an identical replica. So what I'm saying is I'm a real Ghostbuster. That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
I have the suit to prove it. I remember
when I ordered it and got you the name tag, you were like, I'm going to be a real boy.
Dude, we still have it here at the studio. It's like hanging in like the room next to
it's in the
where I'm currently
room.
talking. Dude. I'm a Ghostbuster. I have a jumpsuit. I need to call up Bill Murray and be like, let's do this.
Yeah, when the new movie comes out, we just got to find us an Ecto 1 and we just have you riding around.
I believe, if memory serves me correctly, there is a Hollywood car rental shop in Dallas.
There is, yeah.
So I think they have an Ecto 1 as well. I know for sure they have the DeLorean, but I think they have an Ecto 1 as well. So maybe
we'll be doing a Ghostbusters episode around it, so you never know.
I can't wait for Afterlife. I can't wait for that movie. It keeps being delayed, though.
Well, like everything else.
Yeah,
It'll arrive this summer, though, for sure.
Oh, yes, for sure. So, wait, do we know, is that a Warner Brothers movie?
Nope. It is Sony.
Sony Pictures. Good old Sony.
Sony Pictures.
So, I wonder.
I don't know. Sony's not releasing their stuff direct, to home, right?
Not that I'm aware of. I know most of their movies, like Morbius and things of that nature, have been pushed to 2022. So, I guess we'll see here because things are like, the state of the world right now is so crazy where it's like they either push it back, but I also feel like things that were pushed back could possibly, if things get better sooner than they thought, maybe be pushed forward as well. Who knows?
Yeah, I think. Well, what did the release for Ghostbusters Afterlife? I know it's been moved like 17 times, like everything else. But what's the updated release date on that? Is it summer or fall?
It is November 11th of this year, actually.
November
11th, 2021.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Why do they do? I see with movies like that. I never understand. It seems like anyway. Nowadays, they always release these films that are perfect for Halloween.
Yep.
They release it either like at the end of summer, beginning of September, or they release it in the beginning of November. I'm like, why don't you release this for Halloween? It's like the perfect Halloween movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the week before Halloween or the week of Halloween, that would be great.
Or even like 3 weeks prior, so that
just
people
in October
can watch it. Yeah, watch it during the Halloween season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I feel like. Well, hopefully it stays because I just want to see it. I believe the movie was supposed to be out already, right?
Oh, yeah. It was supposed to come out last summer.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, crazy. It's like everything, like every other movie that we've been waiting on what feels like 3 years now.
My favorite thing is the new Spider-Man 3 movie. Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How at the end of it, well, I call it Spider-Man 3. What is it? I forgot the name of it actually already.
No Way Home.
You're right. Spider-Man No Way Home, right. Well, when you watch that brief teaser that they did with Tom Holland, it says, like, when it comes up, it's like, Spider-Man No Way Home, only in theaters, December. It's like, is it only going to be in theaters in December? It's like, I'm not trying to be negative Nelly here, but I'm just saying you guys keep saying things and taking it back. How about we just don't say anything at all? Just say December. Like, don't say in theaters or at home. Just say December. That way you don't have to redact anything when the time comes. You know what I mean? Just leave it vague. If you don't know, leave it vague.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see. It seems like, the going trend continues to be release in theaters and and on demand simultaneously or shortly thereafter.
Right.
I think that in the end, probably by late this year, I think the kind of settled format is going to be release in theaters, have that in theaters for like 3 weeks to a month, and then it goes on demand, a month later or a few weeks later, or, but much faster than it used to. Before, we're all spoiled now. When I was a kid, movie was growing. When you were a kid too, when a movie would come out, you would have to wait a year and before you would see that on, VHS or DVD. Now, in the last, I would say, decade, that turnover time has gotten shorter and shorter and shorter up until, recent years. You only wait like 3 months or so, 3-4 months, except for very rare situations. And now it's just going to make it even shorter now.
There was some while I wouldn't want it to go back to that way where, because the biggest memory for me with that was Batman Returns. Because literally when it came out and then it almost came out to like a year to the day it was released on VHS. But while, again, I wouldn't want to have to wait that long to see it because especially we're in the day and age where we want everything, when we want it at our fingertips, right? With, technology and streaming. While I would never want it to go back because it is so convenient and nice, there is something to be said to where it made it more special and that much more of an event, right? Because yes, you may have already saw it, but that was a year ago. So like you've forgotten about it and haven't heard about it in like a year or months, 8 months, very long time. So when you see that commercial on TV, they're like, November on VHS. Batman Returns starring Michael Keaton, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Danny DeVito. And you're like, yeah, I get to own it. You know what I mean? So there's something to be said about like that secondary hype where it's like, you want to see it for the first time, but then it's like, now I could own it. And I saw it a year ago. So, I probably forgot a lot of stuff and all, all that jazz. So I don't know. Some of my favorite memories were even Batman Begins. I remember Batman Begins being very excited when Batman Begins was released on DVD. I was like, yeah, it's finally released. And, a bunch of the Disney movies. Or remember when the Disney Vault, when like they would bring out like, Peter Pan's back on VHS for a month only. And then after that, that was it. You only had
every
what's left
so many years it would be in the vault and then they would release it for a short period and you would have to get it or watch it or whatever.
Yeah. So there, again, repeating what I've been saying here, it's kind of sucks because I like that, but I still would never want to go back because why would I not want to, if I want to watch something, I want to watch something. But as a kid and stuff, it was fun to like, you're like, yeah, it was like just a hype. So it's this weird like love-hate relationship I have with it.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like in my opinion, I think that just from a human standpoint, we're not served well by our instant gratification addiction. It does, something, it depends on what you're talking about, I suppose. But some things, it does strip some of the fun out and we just don't realize it is. We're just so used to getting everything, when we want it and how we want it and all this kind of a thing. Just, it does make things kind of, for me at least, it's kind of making like this. We'll use the movies just as an example because that's what we're talking about, where it's like we're moving more and more towards just everything is at home. Well, for me personally, that it strips the fun and the uniqueness of the film watching experience out. It's like if everything just is at home, well, that's just monotonous. It's the same mundane. I just never leave my house. Everything is just at home. And it's like for some people, if you're a homebody, like, okay, to each their own. But as a society, I don't know how much good that's doing us. I think we're social animals and we need that, but also we're creative animals. So it's like, it's nice to have like just, a little bit of variety where we go out for certain things and there's different types of experiences and not everything is just the exact same thing all the time. So that is a little bit of a lament of mine of this instant gratification time that we're in where everything's just like simpler, more, everything is more home driven, especially even like we get everything at home. You order it online and you get everything at home.
It's pretty great as opposed
to being,
it's pretty great.
I mean, the convenience is good, but just this idea of like everything is going towards like, you don't have to go anywhere for anything. You don't have to do anything. You never have to leave your house. Congratulations. You never have to see another human being or go another place in your life. That sounds awful to me. And to some people it might not, but to me that sounds horrible.
Yeah, I where I stand on that. I'm in the middle on that, where it's like I feel like we need just always options to where if, you want to stay home and have everything brought to you or watch any movie or groceries or, basically live that Amazon Prime life, awesome, because that's what I do with most stuff. But at the same time, there's times I want to go out, or there's times you need to go out. You want to be, tactile with something to make sure, this appliance is going to fit in your house, or this is the right piece, or you just want to try it on first. I just think I would never want either of them to go away. I think we need to find a balance to where you have an option. It's like, you want to order it online? Sure. But you also want to go to Target and try it on? Let's do that too. You know what I mean? I don't because it would suck. I would agree that if, brick and mortar goes away, yeah, because there's certain things you need to go to the store for, and or it's just fun to get out. But at the same time, there's lots of days where I don't want to move my butt. I just want something delivered to me. Or it's a thing too, right? I think we talked about this closer to Christmas when we were on the podcast. Like online shopping's the best, just because it's like, if let's say I know my wife wants this certain perfume, but I can't find it in the store. I know some online website or Amazon is going to have it, and I don't have to freaking drive around to 10 different malls. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like anything. It's just balance, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, if we're able to find some way to make it a balance where you just have the option either or and maintain that, that would be great. Look, I guess the concern is the kind of the direction that you're seeing everything going is because everything costs money, and it's all, and at the end of the day, the bottom line is always about profit. So, if they're seeing like, oh, the profitability is, on things being online and being delivered and at home, and on demand and all of this kind of a thing, you're just going to continue to see this trend that we've been seeing where brick and mortar and retail and all that kind of stuff is going to be hurt to the point to where it just continues to go away more and more and more. So if we can find a healthy balance, then great. I just hope that it doesn't continue on this trend where we're seeing one option is slowly dying and, fading, and then and while the other one is just kind of growing and overtaking everything. So I'll be positively optimistic. I'll be positive and optimistic, I should say, and hope that we can find a balance.
Yes, for sure. But with that said, let's finally get into the meat of today's episode, which is WandaVision Episode 8, the second to last episode of this season. Can you believe we're almost done with this series? It is crazy.
Unbelievable. Like it's like this whole year. We're already in March, and it's like everything. It's like the last couple of years, it's just like a train that just keeps speeding up and going faster and faster. It's ridiculous.
It's the weirdest freaking thing. Anyway, before we get into it, spoilers for the entirety of the series thus far for episodes 1 through 8, as we might, touch on things in the past. So you have been warned.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And we had a lot of people asking us like, why are you guys so behind with your podcast from the... Well, this is, as promised, this is us catching up to the actual show. As we were set back because of the winter storms and everything, but this is us catching up. And the episode 8, man, it was a little bit of a journey, and it kind of blew up a ton of the theories that we had been talking about. A ton of the theories all the way up to this point.
But yeah, man, this episode was crazy. I mean, episode 7, the big reveal was obviously that Agnes is Agatha Harkness, which many, comic and Marvel fans
were all waiting for.
Yeah, we were like, I mean, Agnes, Agatha, it just made sense, right? And theory proved to be true. So that was the end of episode 7, but this episode 8, literally picks up in during the Salem trials, where we see Agatha being taken in by her fellow witches, but, I guess they're good witches because they're all mad at her for using dark magic and quite literally gonna like burn her or kill her at the stake, tying her to like a pole surrounding her with their powers. Like, we're gonna destroy you, Agatha.
Yeah, one of which is her mother. And she acts like she's all bad. Well, I guess she was actually upset about it. She's like, come on, Mom. Like, give me at least, be on my side a little bit.
Almost as if she's like a rebellious teenager, right? Like, come on. It was one time.
It was very much like that.
But the thing I loved about how Catherine Hahn played it up was you could tell like she was like, no. But in her eyes and in her face, she's like, this isn't going to work. I just got to pretend that like this is going to be threatening to me. It's not going to be threatening to me. And obviously, it wasn't. Because in the end,
No.
she literally sucks essentially the life force out of all the witches, including
Literally.
her mother at the end. And I don't know about you, but did it give you like Hocus Pocus vibes at all?
A little bit.
Right?
It
Like
did,
a more
yes,
mature,
but a better version.
Right, like a more I love
An
Hocus
updated
Pocus. I don't know, man.
version.
That is I love that movie.
Well, I meant as far as like the special effects.
Oh, right. Yeah,
It was more modern,
a more modern, mature, even darker, obviously. But
Yeah.
I loved seeing what I'm loving about this show, and I think I'm going to love about all the Disney Plus Marvel series, is the fact that they're so different and they're doing things that you would never get to see in the movie, and it's just expanding the MCU in this way where it's like anything is possible. Like if you could do a show
Yes.
where you're having like these sitcoms from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and then even do stuff in the theatrical MCU like talking trees and raccoons. It's like what can't they pull off? Like at this point they're showing that we could do anything and make it work, and you got, and people relate to it and like it, which is what I like most about the MCU.
Yeah, they've got a deep well of very talented creators over there, and they've expanded the Marvel universe in a way that I think everybody can admire. You know what I mean? At least on some level.
For sure. And they definitely proved like what I've been saying for years is like you could make anything work as long as it's done right. And they've proved it, right?
Absolutely,
Time and time again.
yeah.
Like my number one go to that is if you could make a tree that only says 3 words work, you can make anything work. You know what I mean? What's more difficult to make work than that? You know what I mean? It's all about the approach and how you handle it.
It is. Yeah, and they've done such a good job. Again, I guess you can point to, we were a little bit down on on Marvel, where Marvel was headed after phase 4
Yes.
or phase 3 rather.
Mm-hmm.
We were not super confident about where they were headed in phase 4. We were a little bit concerned that they were going to take a small step down, and that we thought maybe this was DC's time to
shine.
take a step up and to start shining a little bit. And Marvel just kind of picked up right where they left off, and the Infinity War saga, it's going to be very difficult. Still, it's going to be very difficult to meet that standard.
Absolutely.
Especially the latter half with the Russo brothers and everything like that. It was just so well done and constructed and told. But it feels so much now like we're moving into this brand new era, and it was like that was fun, but this is something really new and different, and this is also going to be so. They've done such a good job of presenting all of these new possibilities, so that you've moved on now from Infinity War. I'm not comparing it to that anymore. I'm not thinking about that anymore. I'm thinking about the possibilities and the potentials that are that are being presented to us. Just in this one television series. We haven't even gotten into really the meat and bones of this thing yet.
Mm-hmm.
But just with Scarlet Witch here, we've got one more episode left in this season. But what we've learned over the first 8 episodes and the different leaks that we've gotten about Spider-Man and some of these other things, it's really exciting about the stuff they might be introducing and be doing. And so for me, I'm like, man, the Infinity War absolutely holds a special place in my comic book and geek love and heart. But what they're doing now is far more. I guess it's much broader than I expected.
For sure.
And that's been exciting so far.
This is only one show in, right? Because we have 3 more coming this year. What do we have? We have Miss Marvel, Falcon Winter Soldier, and Loki. So
I think five series altogether, not including movies.
Dude, it's freaking crazy. Nuts. Oh, and then we got Hawkeye. Yeah, that's right. Hawkeye.
Yeah.
That would be the 5th one. Oh my God. It's just so insane to keep track, and that's just Marvel. But anyway, going back to episode 8, going back to Agatha, after we get, a glimpse of how she became Agatha, or at least some of her early days when she defeated her fellow witches.
Right.
We're brought back to present, where literally episode 7 left off, where we see Scarlet Witch, or Wanda as of now, with Agatha in the basement, and Agatha basically traps her with her witch powers, or her mastery of the spells and mystic arts, which is a really cool moment, because we really see that though Wanda has brute unimaginable strength with her hex powers, which was demonstrated in the show, but also when she pretty much soloed Thanos. She almost did solo Thanos if you didn't call down a freaking blitz.
Right, yeah.
But we know that, and they said several times throughout the series, like, how strong is she to freaking, warp reality and control this many things and this many people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So to see Agatha with her sheer knowledge of the mystic arts and sorcery be able to trap her and make Wanda powerless was really awesome for me, because I'm like, okay, so Wanda's kind of like the Hulk, right? Where she's got just like the raw power.
Right.
But then you have like the Iron Man, so to speak, the brains, who, if you know what you're doing and the smarts and the math behind it, you could put that beast at bay. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of what Agatha showed. She's like, yeah, you maybe have more raw power than me, but I know a lot more of like the spells and, mastery of it. I almost kind of think of it as like Barry Allen and Wally West, where Wally West is the fastest Flash. He's faster than Barry Allen, but Barry Allen has the most, knowledge of the Speed Force. And because of that, even though Wally is faster, Barry most of the time, still kind of outclasses him just because of his knowledge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In that sense.
Yeah, you
won't beat him in a race, but he could use his knowledge of the Speed Force to, probably stop him.
Yeah, without any doubt.
This is kind of what that showed to me. And I just really thought that was clever. And then from there, from dialogue from Agatha, all of our theories start to get blown up, right?
Big time.
Like everything, you, me, and I'm sure many of other people, all of our Variant Nation listening is like, dang it. Well, I guess that's out the window.
Seemingly, yes. I would say this episode upended a lot of the theories around, not just from us, but all around like the geek world. It upended a lot of the theories, seemingly, because some of it, it was kind of, they implied things. They really didn't say it outright.
Yes.
Right?
For sure.
And we'll get into them one at a time, but it definitely turned the apple cart for sure.
Well, the first one, which happened right here, which is a big one for me, because when we first started talking about this series, when we talked about the first 2 pilot episodes, because they launched the first 2 episodes at the same night, I said on the podcast several times where I was like, Quicksilver, he's going to show up. They're going to bring him back to life. They're going to do it. And eventually they did. Not how we thought. Obviously, they brought in Evan Peters' Quicksilver from the Fox universe, but Quicksilver nonetheless. And in this little back and forth at the beginning of episode 8 that Agatha has with Wanda, as she has her trapped in her little witch basement, so to speak, she says to her, because they start talking about her brother, Pietro, and she's like, Wanda kind of asks about it, and she's like, yeah, she goes, was that you? She's like, well, kind of. I mean, I was his eyes and ears,
right?
Controlling him, but it was a little hard to get your brother's body. Essentially, he was too far away and a little too full of bullet holes.
Yeah,
basically saying that like,
version of Pietro,
that right. But it's weird because it's like you said, seemingly, because that's vague enough to where it could go both ways. Where it could be one, which is what my brain automatically thought and went to, was like, oh, so that means that she just picked a random person and is making him pretend to be Quicksilver. Or we can go the other way and say, oh, she went to another dimension and picked that Quicksilver because he was easier to get than her dead brother who had bullet holes in him.
Exactly.
So it could go like either way. So I'm very curious, but like at the same time, is it just going to be that simple? And then it's like, no, that was us touching on it, and they don't touch on it again in episode 9. It's like, no, that's our explanation. Or they just want to leave it open for the future, or who knows, even Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because literally Multiverse of Madness is in the title, where they expand, where in that movie they're like, oh yeah, it's the Multiverse of Madness. That's literally in the title. So, we're going to bring the X-Men universe in here, where you're going to see Chris Evans freaking Human Torch up in here, and it's literally going to be the Multiverse of Madness. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's, again, we'll see. The theme of this month of podcasts. Hashtag we will see.
Yeah, that's true. We seem to be saying that quite a bit these days, but that was, for as far as the Pietro situation is concerned, that's kind of what I walked away with, is there was intentionality to, and I said this about, Pietro, Evan's version of Pietro's character showing up, there just has to be intentionality to it. It just seems like such again, is it possible? Yes. It just, for me, as a as a creative and a writer and stuff like that myself, it's just like I think about it and I'm just like, that is just too intentional of a plot device. You know what I'm saying? It's just too intentional of a aspect to insert without having some broader intention to it. Now, having said that, they could absolutely just make it a fun little thing that they threw in there and just to throw, even to as a diversion, to somehow redirect fans' attention and make them think one thing is happening when it's another, that sort of a thing. That's a possibility. But I also think there's a reason why she specifically addressed Pietro the way that she did. You know what I mean? I'm talking about Agatha. She specifically says to her, yeah, well, no, I mean, he's fake, but it's not really me. This is a real Pietro. It's just, I possessed him. It's just not your Pietro, right? She doesn't say that specifically, but that's what kind of she implies is that, it's fake Pietro, or she called him Fietro, something like that. But she says specifically like, no, he's real. I just possessed him. She used a possession spell, and so that she could spy on Wanda through him. But he wasn't some kind of, they made a point to tell us he's not a construct of some kind. So this is still,
he's a real person.
He's a real person. He is a real person that she somehow got there. But
it's vague to whether you don't know if it's a random person, pretending to be Quicksilver.
Correct.
Or again, she got another version of Quicksilver. Because she also says, what does she say? This is talking about the original Quicksilver within the MCU universe. She says necromancy was quite hard to do from that far away, or something.
Yeah, because he was in another country and he was full of bullet holes and all of that.
People, yeah. So, very, very interesting. I think if anything, no matter where you fall, it is definitely worded to keep us guessing
without any doubt. And I agree with you that we may not get a resolution with that by the end of the episode, by the end of the series. That may be something that they used as a doorstop, if you will, to where they just kind of cracked the door on the potential of the multiverse and then intentionally leave that just open-ended, leading into...
I mean, you got to imagine, again... when you titling a movie, The Multiverse of Madness,
right.
Literally you're telling us that not only are we going into the multiverse, things are getting crazy. It's going to be utter madness. So it's you got to think, the more I think about it, I feel like we might not get an answer. It's just going to be a cliffhanger that leads directly in to the Multiverse of Madness.
Yep. And where they're just going to start introducing things left and right, and you're never going to know. The intention might be to keep the audience off kilter on purpose. That might be the way that they, the form of the methodology of storytelling that they're going to go with is just leaving you constantly guessing so that you never know what to expect next. And in a way, that's smart.
Well, from a marketing standpoint alone, it's genius because we're watching, WandaVision, it's a TV show. It's never going to be in theaters or anything. You watch it at the comfort of your own home. But it's if you want to know where this goes, you're going to have to go to the theater because by the time Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness comes out, one would assume things are, going to be almost 100% back to normal in the world, and you're going to have to see it in theater. So it's almost like they're saying, it's this is the appetizer. You want the main course? You got to see the Multiverse of Madness.
And we're,
what I mean?
Reality a lot. I mean, some of these things I have to imagine, based on what we're, hearing, is that we're going to get, a lot more of this type of stuff that we're seeing in WandaVision is going to be in, No Way Home with Spider-Man's next movie. You know what I mean? This
I feel
multiverse kind of confusing, what the heck is going on?
For sure. But I feel like they're using, because Kevin Feige, everyone heading up Marvel Studios and obviously Disney itself, not dumb, especially when it comes to pushing their IPs. One would say they're geniuses when it comes to that stuff. I mean, sure, they do a lot of dumb stuff that makes the fans mad, but overall, I mean, they've given us The Mandalorian, they've given us the MCU, tons, it's Disney, right? Everyone loves Disney and Marvel and Star Wars. So they're popular for a reason. But with that said, you got to know, they're they had their board meeting like years ago before they were launching Disney Plus, or when they're like, oh, we have this new streaming platform and now we could put shows on it. They're like, but what this also means is we could put things on there that people will watch for free with their subscription, and then that'll get them to go to the movies to spend real money. Right. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, this again, what I said earlier, this will just be the appetizer to be like, oh, that was so yummy, but now I want more. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know for one, I can't wait to get back with buckets of popcorn. So they've already got me on board on that train. But yeah, it's interesting how they're unraveling this, because just kind of going back to the episode itself, with Agatha, right? Just talking about kind of getting back to how they kind of upended a lot of the theories. There was, in our last episode, we actually speculated quite a bit leading up to episode 8. How Agatha, we might see this kind of twist where they hint that she might be a evil, because we've been talking about, of course, Mephisto possibly showing up here, and the whole Avengers Disassembled storyline. And now there's this big twist, right? Like they're going back in and they're introducing these other story elements, where now it's looking like they are in fact making Agatha more of a villain than she had appeared in comics in the past. And toward the end of the episode, I guess we should probably discuss.
There's some big stuff you're skipping. We're
jumping a bit there, so I'll wait. I'll wait for that. But they imply that then pretty much throughout the episode they show her to be definitely much more of a villain than we speculated. Where we might see this twist where she's more interested in kind of holding Wanda back because she knows Wanda's doing something destructive, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Instead, she kind of presents it right from the get of the episode of like, no, I just want to know how you do it. Like I was marveling at the amount of power it takes to do what you're pulling off here, and I just really want to know, how do you do it, because I want to have it. She's looking to employ the power herself. She wants to know, sure, because she doesn't, she, as powerful as she is, the dark magic that she's drawing on, that they, that they show right at the beginning, where, but going back to the 1600s in Salem, where she literally sucks the life force out of her mother and this entire coven of witches that she's a part of. They tried to, I don't know if they were trying to extract the darkness from her, or if they were trying to kill her at the beginning.
I took it as they were trying to kill her. That's how I took it.
I wasn't sure. I still am kind of not. I mean, you could go either way.
It could have been either way.
But the darkness in her just kind of pushes back and winds up overtaking them instead, and that whole thing. But she's shown to be someone who is seeking power. That's why she taps into the dark magic in the first place, which they also did not go into depth on, by the way. The dark magic, what it is, etc. They were very vague on that, and I think, again, that's intentional. I think there's a lot more on that to come. But she's shown right from the beginning as a person who is just literally looking for power, to empower herself, to break outside the lines of what is good and I guess virtuous amongst witches, however far that goes, but
virtuous amongst witches,
virtuous amongst good witches. Yeah.
Quote of the day.
But yeah, so that was right off the bat. I was like, okay, so they're going full villain with her, but then toward the end, you're kind of, I don't know if you felt this, I was kind of going back to, they left the door open here where it might still come back.
Yes,
like this, she may not end up being full villain by the end of this still. And so, and I really loved that, because they're doing it with so many different things. And they're kind of doing it across the board, where you're just left going, man, I feel like, this is what I said to my wife after we watched the episode. I was like, what I love about this is they went from me feeling like, they took me from feeling like I knew generally where this was probably going because of the storylines they were drawing on in comics, to now I feel like I'm in more of a Game of Thrones situation.
Oh, for sure.
Where there's so many possibilities and I'm not sure where they're going to go.
Well, because it originally, we talked about this before, but it seemed like they were drawing a lot of their stuff from like the WandaVision series and like Avengers Disassemble and stuff like that.
Right.
Where we see a lot of Agatha and Scarlet Witch stuff, which still, yeah, they are. But when the MCU adapt something, we should have known this. They never do it verbatim. Civil War is like, I think.
Yeah, nothing is a straight line. Yeah.
Right. Like Civil War, I think, is the best example of that, where the premise was there, where it's like, heroes have to register and like you're on you have Iron Man on this side and Cap on this side with, teams and they're fighting and be like, no, this way. So they took the overall premise, but it's completely different than the original Civil War storyline. So it's almost like we should have known, but like, no, I completely agree with you. By the end of the episode, they almost play it like Agatha only wants to know how she got her powers and how she's so strong and all this stuff because she needs to know how to stop it. You know what I mean? Because she's like, I'm just gonna say it at the end of the episode, not the post-credit scene. That's the biggest reveal.
Right.
But at the end of the episode, she says she's like, I know what you are, Wanda, and you need to be stopped. You have chaos magic.
Right.
You're the Scarlet Witch. And she calls her Scarlet Witch. So she's basically saying, oh, you have this chaos magic. That's not good. You're like the prophesized like freaking Scarlet Witch. You need to be stopped. So that could go both ways, right? Where
exactly.
like you just said, where you're like, okay, is that a good thing then? Or is that a bad thing? Are you wanting to stop it because this is the good guy who's going to beat you? Or are you wanting to stop it because this is the ultimate bad that you have to stop, which is why you learn dark magic. So you have both powers to defeat the Scarlet Witch one day. You know what I mean? And so we just really have to see where episode 9 goes. But before all that, in the middle of the episode, we get the complete and utter backstory, the origin of Wanda, which we kind of knew.
Super
they hinted
cool.
at it. We knew her powers came from an Infinity Stone.
Right.
We knew like she was working for like Hydra and all that. Well, she originally volunteered for the terrorist group and stuff like that, and they did experiments on her, unwillingly and all that stuff. So we knew that, but this flushed everything out. We literally see it happen. We see, how her parents died. We see her brother and them survive. We see them join the terrorist organization. We see her getting experimented on. And we literally go through all of that. Like, literally, basically, that episode, the middle of episode 8 was just a recap of Wanda's entire arc in the MCU till now, which I thought was awesome, because you could literally show, it's like anyone who wants to know about Wanda in the MCU, you just show them the like 15 minutes in the middle of that episode and you know everything. Like it was like their version of a history of for her, for the MCU, right?
I really loved that aspect of the episode overall. In fact, I would say the entire the beginning of us going back to Salem, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was such a fun way to open up the episode. So we got a little bit of the origin of Agatha. Obviously, there's a huge gaps there for her timelines and her backstory. But we got that. And then shortly after that, we go into, her basement lair, where she's basically interrogating Wanda, and Wanda's trying to use her power and she can't. And, she explains to her kind of what you were alluding to before, where, she has this, while Wanda is, in her entirety, she's far more powerful than Agatha. Agatha doesn't know why, but she knows she is. But, Agatha, she has a mastery of the craft that Wanda just doesn't even know exists, really. She even says to her at one point, Agatha says to Wanda, she's like, how is it that you don't even know the basics of witchcraft, of sorcery, that sort of a thing. These are basic protection spells, that sort of a thing. You see those are runes, and she's pointing them to her. So you were already kind of getting this more sarcastic, obviously more condescending version of her, instructing Wanda and saying, how is it that you don't know anything about how to use your power, about how these things work and all that kind of stuff? So you get that, origin of Wanda, and then this kind of clever, explanation of certain aspects of the power that she's using. And then she uses that she tells Wanda, like, you're clearly broken. You're a broken soul. And for you to be able to move forward, we have to go back. But she's doing it, Agatha's basically saying, I'm going to do this selfishly, because I would just want to know, how did you get to this, this level of power? You don't even know how you did it? Well, we got to find out, because I need to know.
You don't even know what it is.
You don't even know what it is.
It's my Kevin Hart reference for the day.
But she, you know, that's where we begin to walk through Wanda's memories. So that, you know, as Agatha is kind of taking her to the most painful moments in her past that fractured her in all of these different ways, allowing her to create this fictitious world. And she's like, I don't even know. She's like, I've been patient. I've been trying to figure out who you really are, like what you really want. What are you after? She's like, we got close with Pietro, but not close enough. And she's like, so we're going to have to do this the hard way sort of thing. And she starts walking Wanda, in this, dream state almost, where they're going through these doorways and walking her through her most painful memories. And I loved that we got these fill-ins of things that, like you said, we had learned previously in the MCU, you know, in Age of Ultron and so forth, where Wanda and Pietro initially tell their story. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Where they tell their story about why they hated Tony Stark and, you know, where their apartment got bombed and their parents were killed and they were sitting there watching one of Tony Stark's bombs waiting to kill them and all that. We got to see that whole scene. But we also got to see shortly before that with her parents and why Wanda is using these different eras and TV shows in her WandaVision fictitious life that she created for herself, why all that is manifesting itself. And we went from the 1950s all the way through, you know, the early 2000s and all this stuff. And you see that it's because when she was a kid with her parents, some of her great memories was watching, you know, living in where are they from? I'm having a brain fart.
I don't even. I had it. It's one of those, they've said it several times.
It's the place in Age of Ultron. But you know, when she was a child, over there with it was a war-torn city and environment, and you know that was the one way that they would escape as a family. Is the father had these old VHS tapes and DVDs that they would put on of the Dick Van Dyke Show and the Brady Bunch and so forth. And this was embedded in her memory. It was like the one thing that kind of held her together. But when the bomb goes off, which was an awesome scene, by the way, we learn for the first time in this moment where the bomb from the Stark Industries comes through the ceiling and lands in front of the twins, and they show that Wanda reaches her hand out because it's about to go off. And they imply that it wasn't just some twist of luck, that it didn't go off, that it was a dud. Yeah, some defective bomb, but that in fact it was probably Wanda who dismantled the bomb using a power she didn't realize she had.
Which is crazy.
So crazy.
Because this is before the Infinity Stone.
Exactly
obviously.
Right. So that's before, her going and volunteering, because up until that point, all we knew was that she was a part of some sort of experimentation with Hydra using the Mind Stone that was embedded in the staff. And they're very vague and ambiguous about what the experimentation was, but they basically implied that it was a mutation, right? That somehow. But in
mutation, like a
mutant. And we've said it before, like they had to be, at the time, they were being very vague intentionally. Yep. They had to be very careful with the whole mutant thing.
Because what if that created the X gene, right? Like what if that she was like, they're like, Apocalypse wasn't the first mutant, Wanda's the first mutant.
Can you imagine? That'd be weird.
That'd be nuts.
That would. But in this, they apply, because then they jump forward to her being with Hydra, and they show her, kind of, she walks into the room where they're going to start their experimentation on her with the staff. They don't even know that it's an Infinity Stone inside this thing. They don't know what the power source is. And she walks into the room, and the two Hydra agents are like, they have the microphone on accident that leads into the room, and they say, are you the one guy? The scientist says to the other, he's like, should we really go through with this? Because no one has survived. None of the other subjects have survived this. And he like shuts the microphone off real fast, and she's like, what?
I'm going to die today?
Yeah, it's like, this is not what I signed up for, but okay.
This is not what I wanted.
Okay, I guess we can.
I don't even know what voices I'm doing. I'm like some deranged like cartoon character with both those voices. It's like, what is that even?
Yeah, we're going to get hired for cartoon voiceovers really soon. But yeah, so then the Infinity Stone it literally separates itself from the staff in front of Wanda, and it comes and it just opens up, and you see the Mind Stone basically activate, and it turns into this giant glowing light in front of her, and she sees this silhouette inside the flame, if you will call it that, inside the energy of the Mind Stone, that looks very much like the silhouette of the classic Scarlet Witch.
Done. Do you know people took a screen cap of that and they zoomed in on it, and you could see detail of the costume and stuff, which they're obviously going to unveil in the ninth episode, obviously. You would imagine.
And there's two silhouettes inside. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't notice the two silhouettes. I just saw the screen caps and the zoom ins on the actual Scarlet Witch costume and figure.
If you look at the screen grab, it's the Scarlet Witch silhouette, the classic silhouette of the Scarlet Witch in her costume, in her suit, and then inside of that, there's a smaller silhouette that's standing in front of her. And I found that to be very interesting. It's like, why would there be two?
Can you make it out at all? Is there like any?
You can't. No, I have no idea what it is, but I found it interesting that there was a second one in there. But either way, the entire scene is really fascinating. But she winds up almost.
It's Professor X saying, "Knock it off, Wanda."
Yeah, exactly. It could be. It could be anything.
Cut it out.
But the Mind Stone basically ends up bonding with her. It as if it chose her, and she winds up being imbued with power from the Mind Stone. Which immediately, as soon as this happens, right, and I'm sure you were the same. I was just like, that explains so much and ties so many things together, including her connection with Vision, right? Mm-hmm. And why she was able to reanimate him throughout all of this thing. And, because we also learn shortly thereafter inside the memories that she never actually stole Vision's body, but she actually remanifested a new version of Vision from the Mind Stone power that was imbued into her. So we're getting this brand new,
which was a huge reveal, because that is part of my new theory.
Yeah, I know. I'm still waiting to hear this theory, which I'm kind of curious to get to it. But that whole scene there, though, that moment where we learned first that Wanda had powers before her interaction. Or that it was implied, I should say, directly implied that she had power before her interaction with the Mind Stone, and then that it wasn't necessarily some scientific experiment that was done on her, but rather the Mind Stone selected her and specifically imbued an Infinity Stone, imbued her with its own power, which is insane because that takes the ambiguous power set that Wanda has had throughout the MCU thus far and takes it to a level 1000, like instantaneously, right?
I kind of took it because again, everything in this episode for the most part is still left vague. Like even we were talking about earlier when little baby Wanda put her hand out and Agnes suggests that she literally said, she's like, maybe it was your powers early on manifesting, and that's why the bomb didn't go off. But it's right. It's still kind of ambiguous where it's not definitive. It's just she's suggesting that that's what may have happened, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's still so did the Infinity Stone just enhance her powers to Super Saiyan 4 level or Super Saiyan God level type powers? Or did it just straight out give her powers? And in fact, that bomb really was a dud. You know what I mean? It's it's like everything in this episode where you could either go left or you could go right. We don't know, but I love the fact that we get to guess because that's what's making it fun, right? That's what's making this current conversation and stuff and stuff fun. It's like, is it this? Is it that? And hopefully we get a lot more concrete answers by episode 9. But I feel like we're probably only going to get one or two, and it's gonna, like we were talking about a few minutes ago, it's gonna set up and all lead into Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I think they're going to keep a lot of things intentionally open-ended at this point because, again, we only have one episode left. I don't know how long the episode is going to be, but there's only so much time.
Oh, I do. I got a runtime on it. I got a runtime.
What is it?
I do. They revealed it. If memory serves me correctly, it is 56 minutes. It was either 54 minutes or 56 minutes. It's an hour. But as we know, for some reason, the credits for WandaVision are incredibly long. They're literally 8 minutes long. So whatever the runtime is, you got to subtract the 2 minutes for the open up front in the recap, and then 7 minutes on the back. So it's really probably 48 minutes of content,
right?
Which
and
is
we're
still
likely
long.
going to get a post-credit scene for this because it's going to lead into other things. So we're likely going to get a setup there.
Can we talk about that real briefly? I love how like the first 5 or 6 episodes of WandaVision,
nothing,
no one credit scene, and then out of nowhere, not telling anyone, they're like, "Oh, from episode 7 on, we're just going to do uncredit scenes." It's like what?
Which I kind of again, it goes back to though. I love it because it keeps you on your toes. You have to pay attention to every detail.
But dude, how frustrating is it when we're watching MCU movies in the theaters and you sit there, you wait the entire 12 or whatever minutes, and there's nothing at the end. You're like, mother freaker.
You see like 20 people in the theater with their phones out trying to see if someone has said it online, if there is or isn't. Yeah, that's happens pretty much every time.
That's exactly what I do. I'm like, I'm just gonna Google it. I'm not gonna sit here, but there's nothing.
but with Wanda, you know what it reminded me of? Like the way that they showed that she got her power, at least, the power level that we're seeing, right? It reminded me so much of the Phoenix. In the X-Men, it felt like they were kind of drawing from that a little bit, where she was, how Jean Grey is imbued with the Phoenix Force, and various other characters have been obviously over the years as well. But in specifically the Dark Phoenix saga, Jean Grey is imbued with the Phoenix Force, and she's just becomes like a universal threat powerhouse, right? And it kind of had that vibe where they were showing this is an Infinity Stone. These are stones that spiraled out of the creation of the universe, right? And so they're imbued with the energy and the power that created all things, at least in our universe. And she was imbued with that power, which is like, well, what's that? You could argue that is almost limitless, and that it could be tapped in to do any number of things. But obviously, they're using it to say in this show that she has the power to create life, to create living things, to alter reality. I mean, immense power. And that was, I thought, a really cool turn, how they're making her almost like a phoenix. She's imbued almost like with the Phoenix Force, but instead it's the power of the Infinity Stone. So, because that's different from anything that we've seen in comics. Toward the end, as you've already mentioned, Agatha says to her, once they get through everything and Agatha fully realizes what she's dealing with. You see Agatha in like her full get up for the first time.
Full witch mode.
Full witch mode. And she's actually got the 2 boys outside, kind of strapped to, ropes, or I don't know what they were, but she basically,
and Wanda's all like, Billy, Tommy.
Yeah, she goes running out like a
your
soccer
mother's
mom.
Here.
And she, but Agatha says to her, she's like, I know what you are. She's like, and Wanda doesn't, obviously. She's like, I know what you are. Like you're using chaos magic. Basically implying that she's this legendary being that wasn't supposed to exist. And she's like, but there you are, and you're dangerous.
Going back to Dragon Ball, she's the legendary Super Saiyan.
She's the legendary.
And freaking Vegeta's like, oh my god, you're the legend. It can't be you, Kakarot.
Yeah, so it's that whole aspect of it where she basically says like, I can't allow you to continue. Basically, it's like, well, you just got done saying that she's like a legendary.
Let me be specific, because I know all the anime fans are out there. They're like, the legendary Super Saiyan is actually Broly, Arris. I know. I'm just wanted to do a Vegeta, Goku, Kakarot expression. I know Broly is the legendary Super Saiyan. So for everyone out there, it's probably like, geez, Arris, that's wrong. I know. I'm just trying to be funny.
You just interrupted them halfway through their tweet.
Yeah, so I cut you off
while you were saying that right there.
It's like, hashtag maybe Arris, go back and
Arris doesn't know anime.
Revisit your Dragon Ball history, douche.
Hashtag Arris is a noob.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I just had to get that out.
Yeah, no, totally legit. But yeah, I loved that at the end there, she basically says, like, you're operating with this chaos magic. It's supposed to be a myth. You're not even supposed to exist, that sort of thing. But either way, like, you don't understand how dangerous you are, and I can't allow it, that sort of a deal. And once she drops the chaos magic term, now, like right there, so many things get upended. and it changes so many. It's like, oh,
Right.
dude, come on. No, so and again, I can't help but say, it is a little bit confusing if you're a comic fan because they have drawn, I should say, off so many different things in this show in terms of Wanda's, comic book history. But it's
an amalgamation, if you will.
Yes, it is a total amalgamation. But I have to say, I love how they have meshed it all and really made it work so well.
But it's also, yes, but I mainly love it so much because the thing that kind of sucks being, a comic book fan, knowing the storylines they're pulling from and stuff, is if they follow them, 100%, you know exactly where everything's going to end. Yeah. Exactly. So for me, like, and you and other people or whatever who know or familiar with these storylines were like, oh, this is probably going to be this and they're probably going to be this because of this and that because this all happened in the books, which, still happens with Agatha. We knew she was associated with Wanda, so we ended up getting that correct and stuff like that. But with, as far as pulling, like, let's say the Avengers Assembled 100%, House of M 100%, like prominent Wanda stories, no, they do twists and turns, which really, really cool. But before we move on to the end, because I think we're at the point where we're going to get to the biggest reveal, I did want to touch on one of my favorite scene in the entire episode, which says a lot just because I love the back and forth, which was it took place during Age of Ultron, as Agatha's taking Wanda through her past and stuff, and she eventually gets to the point where she's in her room at Avengers headquarters and Vision comes through the wall. And they have this whole back and forth about, at that point, it was after Age of Ultron, I guess.
Some of the dialogue in this scene was fantastic.
Dude, yes. Because Wanda is dealing with the loss of her brother. He was killed, right? So Vision, he's an android. He's a synthezoid. So, like, he doesn't know. But, like, he's trying to comfort her. And at first, she's like, I don't want to talk. Shut up. Go away. And he's like, oh. And then she kind of, like, apologizes. But then he comes back. I actually pulled it up because I loved it that much. And I didn't want to botch it because it's actually become, one specific sentence has become my favorite line in all of the MCU, up there with some of Cap lines.
I think I would agree with you. And I know what line you're talking about.
Yeah, so it starts off where, they're talking about sorrow. So he says, I've never experienced loss because I've never had a loved one to lose. But what is grief if not love persevering? Which that last line, but what is grief if not love persevering, was one of the coolest ways to twist a drastic negative into a positive and be like, it blew my mind just like as a person in like the real world. I'm like, oh my God. Like, yeah, like that's fantastic. A cool way to look at it, right? Yeah. Like, what is grief? Like, because the whole reason you're grieving and sad is because it's your mind trying to work through it. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, that's like a really deep line if you dissect it.
Well, like right when he said it, I actually paused because we watch this every week as a family, my wife, my kids, and I actually paused it. And I said, that was a beautifully written line. Not to sound cheesy or cliche.
No, I 100% agree with you.
I actually said to my kids, I said, I told them, I was just like, think about what he just said and how beautiful of a sentiment that is. I was just like, what is love or what is grief if not love persevering? Because the love doesn't go away for people, the people that you love, that doesn't go away when they leave this earth, right? And so we continue to love them, but we just move on. We have to keep going. And so it's love persevering through that loss. And again,
beautiful.
I don't want to sound cheesy.
Line.
It's a beautifully written line and sentiment. And I totally agree with you. I thought they absolutely nailed that scene.
But it's that kind of stuff because Captain America has a lot of lines like that in the MCU as well, where it's like, whoa, that's just a good line for life in general, right?
Yeah.
But it's like it's things like that like obviously these shows, they're big, they're colorful, explosions, they're fun. We want to see these, all the comic book things. But like even in comics itself, because comics does this a lot, it's the core of it that these lines that show people, because when people say like this, Vision or Superman got me through this or Batman got me through this, and a lot of people will be like, a fictional character is what got you through this, not like your mother or like your religion or whatever you want, any quote unquote normal thing.
Right.
People may make fun of it, but it's like, no, like the writers and people making these stories are putting a lot of their own like life into it to help people get through things. So they're saying every now and then you get like these, I'm going to say it, poetic lines that are like, no, yeah, that's just a good life lesson or thing like line, you know what I mean? Where it's like, wow, no, this is why, you know, these characters in fiction is so important, because they, you know, for the most part it's fun and flashy, but they most certainly can teach you actual valuable things that you need for life.
Without a doubt.
This is great.
And in a lot of ways, that's what a good writer does, right? You take, because it's, you know, these writers who wrote this show, they're not the first ones who have, you know, or espoused this sentiment, right?
Yeah.
It's just that they did a great job of encapsulating and incorporating a beautiful sentiment that other philosophers and teachers over time have said similar things, just not quite the same way. They just did a really good job of bringing the thought together, encapsulating in that moment and relaying it in such a beautifully worded way.
And it was such a Vision thing to say too, right? Like, isn't this series, like, I've always liked Vision, right? But this series is like, oh my, like, it's fleshing him out so much more and making you, you know, we're just getting to see more of him on a more like quote unquote human level, even though he's not human. But you know, it's just, they're just doing such a good job with fleshing out his character. I'm like, wow, like, you know, he wasn't even top 10 favorite Avengers, you know, as far as MCU characters before this movie, but I'm like, I think you may have cracked the top 10 for me now. You know what I mean? Like, he's just, because it also, this series is also showing us why he was able to lift Mjolnir, right? In Age of Ultron, where
there's a purity to him.
He's just got this innocence to him where he's like, even when he starts figuring things out, he's like, Wanda, what are you doing? Our job, our sole purpose is to help people. If we do anything to hurt them, we have to stop. We cannot, that's not how this works. He's kind of has like that, the reason why I like Wonder Woman so much in the first Wonder Woman movie, where her whole thing, I always bring this up because I just love the sentiment so much, where it's just like, she can't compute why you wouldn't help people no matter the cost. And that's the same thing Vision is kind of like, we're learning Vision is like that as well. And I love that in a hero, because that's what a hero is. It doesn't matter if I'm going to die. It doesn't matter what's going to happen. If I could help or save just one person, I'm going to risk everything to do that. And you know, that's why I love comics and heroes. So I'm like, this is great, guys. Good job on you.
Yeah. And I completely agree with you. And I think that's why him landing that line in that entire section of dialogue there in that scene, why is a good part of why it works so well. Is because there is, you know, like we said, there's a purity to him. There's an innocence. There's zero sense of malice. And Paul Bettany does such a great job of relaying that emotion and that personality of Vision as a character, where there's such a genuine concern for doing what is right.
That is the perfect word, the concern. Like that phrase right there, genuine concern. That is so true. In the way his inflection, his facial expressions, he's just like, you see it. That's the thing, you know, not to cut you off, but that's the thing. You see it in his eyes. Like, it's not just what he's saying. Like, he's so good at this character. You're like, oh no, just by looking, because they say, you know, your eyes are the gateway or the windows to your soul. And you could see that in him. You're like, oh no, you are genuinely concerned. You nailed that on the head.
Right. Yeah. I think that just in general, and this speaks to, you know, Marvel's, you know, incredible ability to cast their characters in a lot of ways too, right? Like, there's a lot of people that they could have cast to play Vision, and none of them, I think, would have relayed that sentiment in the same way as Paul Bettany did. He's just perfect for that role. I mean, you know, there's a lot of other roles inside the MCU that he would have played well, but wouldn't have been as good as the others that are actually playing the role. So they've just done such a good job of bringing these things together. And you know, of course, there's a lot of people that make fun of the MCU and they mock, you know, the formulaic methodologies of the MCU and the way they do it. But there's a reason why the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been as popular and has hit the right notes for so many people all over the world. They're mixing some intrinsically understood things with some real entertaining characters and storylines, right? But like you can, and what I mean by that is going back to what you were saying is that they sprinkle in enough of real, actual virtuous things that it resonates with people intrinsically, even subconsciously, I think, where you're like, no, we should look to do hard things when it's right. We should care about people, even if it means sacrificing ourselves. You know what I mean? These are the things that make our world better. And you saw it again in that moment where there was just a genuine concern of this character about the hurt and the pain he was seeing his friend, this person he cared about, going through. And he didn't really know, and he expresses that. He's like, look, I've never experienced this myself. I've never experienced love in the way that you have, or loss in the way that you have. But, if it makes any difference at all, it seems to me, what is grief if not love persevering? So don't let that make you feel like, there's something wrong with you, but rather, that's the beauty of life. Even the beauty found in death. And it's just, I love those elements and those beats, like you said, where they sprinkle it in with Captain America and even Iron Man at the end of Endgame, right? How it all came together with Iron Man and the sacrifices that he made and the way that they did it. It was just so impactful because of the way that they built these characters, told these stories, and then embedded these underlining virtuous human elements in ways that everybody could relate to on one level or another.
Yeah, I think that's where the DCEU lacks for most people, or a lot of people, and they don't even notice it though, right? Because it's one of those things that it's kind of like CGI in the sense, right? Any good CGI, you never notice. That's the whole point. You're not supposed to know that that's a fake tree. You're not supposed to know that they put in that car, they painted, in those bushes. That's the point, the point of it. If they're doing their job correctly, you don't notice it. So I feel like that's the same thing with the MCU in like the character arcs, right? Where it's so natural, so fluid, and the arcs just are so well done and come full circle that unless you really think about it, you don't really notice it. You're like, this is awesome and I love it. But it's not until you really, for most people at least, it's not until you sit down and really think about it. It's like, oh, and then you start dissecting it, right? Like we do on the podcast. We're like, yeah, because this happened in this movie and this happened in this. And then when he said this, that made sense because this happened 3 movies. You know what I mean? And you really get into it and like, wow, this was brilliant. So they must have, they had those whiteboards and laying this all out because it had to all come back around. And I think that's where the DC EU is lacking a lot, where there's no substance in that sense. They just kind of rushed, and because they came out to kind of compete with the MCU, right? Where they just kind of like, let's get it out there,
without a doubt,
and just rushed it, but they didn't build up anything. You didn't care about this character or that character, or why they formed the League and stuff like that. It was just done. It was like, it's because there's a threat, so we got to form. But if that's not really, if you look at the first Avengers movie and everything leading to it, like that was a slow burn, man. It took
without a doubt
4 or 6 movies to even get there. And then the Avenger movie itself was still an origin story. You didn't see them form until the very end of the movie, like the last 20 minutes. So I think, for anyone working in the DCU, that's the one thing that, I would even say, I've been hoping, I'm not trying to go down that train, but I'm just hoping the Flashpoint movie kind of resets that, and that's where we go going forward. I'll leave it at that because we've talked ad nauseum with that in the past. So I'm not going to go down that wormhole. All I'm
going to say to that is, I agree.
But I think it's time we got to get to the biggest reveal, right? Because there's a lot of big reveals.
Well, before we do that, I do think it's important for us to expound a little bit on chaos magic.
Oh, you want to talk? It's just because you're all about the mystics.
It is. I'll give it to you. I will give it to you. But that the reason that is such an important aspect of the end, and that's kind of a big reveal at the end of that episode of episode 8, for her to say that, hey, you're tapping into chaos magic, is because it blows the door open on the Elder Gods and Chthon and all these other character possibilities of how is she drawing on that? Where did that come from? Especially if you go back to the fact that she also, or they implied that she had power before her interaction with the Infinity Stone, the Mind Stone. So there is a tremendous, they just kicked the door open on a whole bunch of other possibilities, especially because they've already said that Agatha is drawing on dark magic. But then Agatha says, oh no, you're drawing on chaos magic, which is different from what I'm drawing from. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now there's like these rival forms of magic, which is actually present in Marvel Comics. You do see that. But, you know, it just opens up so many additional possibilities, especially because we briefly got a look at what looked to be the Darkhold in Agatha's, you know, what are we calling that? Her lair?
her witch dungeon.
Her witch dungeon.
Which sounds
makes
very
it sound
adult.
Like something else.
Yeah, it sounds very adult.
Sounds a little softcore there. But yeah, so whatever that is in episode, it was episode 7, was it? Right? When she first went down to the basement. That's when we saw
the end
of
episode 7. Yeah, that was the big reveal. Yep.
Yeah, so that's when we see what looks to be the Darkhold in her lair there. Which, if that's the case, it's like, again, we've got to get. I can't help but wonder, like, how many answers are they going to be able to give us about all this stuff, and how much are they going to be able to unravel? You know, in an hour, or like, as you said, possibly 49 minute long episode. Mm-hmm. Man, it has me going from, as I said, I totally know where this is going, or or feeling like I had a greater sense of where it was going, to where I'm just like, man, I have no idea. There's so many things that they could do here. We could still be getting Mephisto, but it could become Mephisto from, you know, competing with a chaos magic imbued Wanda, who is drawing from the powers of Chthon. I mean, it's just so many possibilities. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think do you think we're still going to get Mephisto? Are you feeling that in any way, or?
I think we still might see him pop up by the end, like as a cliffhanger at the end of episode 9, or in the Multiverse of Madness. It's pretty weird, because the thing with chaos magic, since I guess we're gonna go down that path. the thing with chaos magic,
it's my favorite topic, Arris.
Yeah. Well, we know in the Marvel universe that it's like, which I guess makes sense with all our powers, right? Because in the Marvel universe, it's like it gives you powers to like warp reality and all that stuff. Basically, all the powers she showed in the series, we know it gives them like uncontrollable magic to like warp the fabrics of like time and reality. Right. But also, if you dive deep in there, it was like this thing that was like, you know, like, what do you call, what's the word I'm looking for? It was this thing that they thought like didn't exist. It was this like freaking unicorn. They're like, it's like a legend. That's the word I'm looking for. It's like a legend in theory, I guess, but we don't think it exists. So much so, Doctor Strange in the comics doesn't even think it existed, or didn't think it existed. Right. He's like, yeah, this ain't a thing. So that chaos magic, now that they literally introduced that, directly. Now, we already knew from the get-go, from even before this show started streaming, it was going to tie into the Doctor Strange movie, right? But that right there, if, you know, the comics are any indication, tells you, oh, 100%. But it also could mean that Wanda might end up being the villain in the Multiverse of Madness. That's kind of
what I'm wondering. Is that where they're headed?
We might not get Mephisto as a bit, because everyone's like, oh, Mephisto, oh, Agatha. They could be setting up, potentially, arguably, Wanda to be the villain for this next, not even the Multiverse of Madness, for this next phase going forward. Like, I'm talking about,
again, like the Phoenix Force.
Right. I'm talking about, like, she's the Thanos of this current phase. You know what I mean? Because, again, if you go back to the comics, since they're pulling from everything, House of M. Who was the freaking one responsible for that? That massive event that everyone talks about with the infamous words, no more mutants. Who's the person who got rid of like 90% of all mutants?
Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Wanda, right? Avengers Assemble, all this stuff. Who thought to kill or did kill Agatha in Avengers Assemble? Wanda, like, she's good guy, but she goes crazy because of her hex powers, and has inadvertently become the bad guy lots of times, because she's just like, I want my kids, I want my vision, and she warps reality and screws everything up, and the Avengers and X-Men are like, dang it, Wanda. You know what I mean? So, like, that could very well be what they're setting up. But that kind of goes, since now those doors are open, that kind of goes into my theory, which ties into the big reveal at the end of the show. At the end of the show, in the post-credit scene, the big reveal is that we see S.W.O.R.D., working on, because in the middle of the episode we see that they stole obviously Vision, because they're like, hey, this is like $4 billion of freaking vibranium. I'm not just gonna hand it over to you. We need to work it out, right?
Exactly.
And we basically find out that they're trying to rebuild him and make him a weapon. Is all they're really trying.
Wanda never stole his body.
They just showed us a brief clip to make us think she stole, because they showed us the clip of when she broke in and we're like, oh, she stole it, but like, no, she didn't. So they still have Vision's parts, because like, again, remember you said earlier in the episode we saw that she didn't steal the body, she made her own Vision out of seemingly Mind Stone powers, right?
Right.
So she just conjured her own Vision. So there's two Visions now, because at the end of this episode, we see they rebuilt Vision, and not only did they rebuild Vision, it's White Vision, and he's online now. So
using Wanda's power, hex power that's still attached to the drone that she threw out.
That's how they brought it back to life. But
that's
if you
how
notice,
they bring him online, because they couldn't figure out how to do it. Then they said, based on all their interactions, who knew all we needed was a little bit of her power.
Of her hex power, right. But if you notice on his head, if you zoom in on his forehead where the Mind Stone used to be, it freaking looks like an arc reactor. Like a mini arc reactor, which is like, are they using Stark tech inside? Because he's a weapon now. The only reason why they literally rebuilt him.
I think I know where you're going right now.
And brought him back as White Vision to be a weapon to fight Wanda. So it's like, okay, so that. But then if you know anything about the comics, right? So White Vision, for people who don't know, just a brief recap, he was introduced in the West Coast Avengers comic book years ago. Long story short, basically S.H.I.E.L.D. comes in. They're like, we want Vision because he freaking almost destroyed the world, got into like all of our systems and stuff like that. It's not safe. We need to like experiment on him and make like a counterattack, right? We need his technology. So Scarlet Witch and the Avengers like, no, that ain't gonna happen. So freaking Mockingbird comes in and is like, oh, well, haha, I secretly turned him over to S.H.I.E.L.D., so there he is. Scarlet Witch obviously like, oh, hell no, not my husband. Like that, right? So she goes busting in the freaking S.H.I.E.L.D., and when she gets there, just like in this episode of WandaVision, which again, for people who read the comics, they're like, oh my God, this is straight from the comics. When in the comic books, when she gets to S.H.I.E.L.D., she sees Vision torn apart, sprawled out, just like he was in episode 8 of WandaVision. And she's like, what the freak did you do to my husband or my boyfriend, right? What did you do to my lover? So,
and that whole scene, by the way, where she says, I can't feel you, that was so sad.
So sad. Yeah. So basically her and the Avengers get all the parts, take it back from S.H.I.E.L.D., and Hank Pym and all of them try to rebuild him, which they eventually do. And when they do, though, the problem is, though they rebuilt him, his soul and memory was gone. His quote unquote soul, right? Like he didn't know who the Avengers were. He didn't know about Wanda and their past. He was just reformed, and now he was white because I guess as a symbolism of like he's soulless, right? Like there's no color there. So that happens. Long story short, like he eventually gets his memory back. But then after that, how he comes back to normal Vision is he's introduced to an alternate version of Vision. Basically, there's a Vision from another Earth where he basically took his brain, because he got his memories back, and put it into that body. So that's how he became back to the normal, green and red
merge,
Vision. They merge, right. So that's how it all comes, full circle. So my theory is Wanda's going to team up with her Vision, right? But her Vision isn't really real, I guess. We don't really know. I mean, we saw him kind of break out and she pulled him back in, but it seems like he can't exist without her like doing whatever warping powers
outside
she does.
Of her power structure.
Outside of her powers, right. So my theory is somehow when they team up and she teams up with her, her two boys, and they're fighting this White Vision, somehow they're going to swap his consciousness or memories into White Vision and do the opposite of the comics, and then, she's going to restore the color, and that's how we're going to get Vision back. So I think they're going to do a mind swap, like a reverse mind swap from the comic books, and that's how we're going to get normal Vision. And then somehow, depending how it goes, I don't know how yet, maybe she ends up being the bad guy. You know what I mean? I haven't gotten that far. I'm just like, my theory is more to like, I think she's going to be the villain. I don't know how, but for sure, Vision is going to be Vision again by going into the body that Sword just rebuilt. You know what I mean? Like his consciousness is going to go into that. So I think that's how we're going to get Vision back.
That was like the big, as soon as I saw that first of all, we already knew that Vision was dismantled there, right? So as soon as I saw that she didn't actually take him, but she actually conjured and reanimated a new Vision using, basically, she wasn't even trying, it seemed. It was just the power of the Mind Stone, like, just came out of her and formed Vision out of her, this depths of sorrow, and it manifested a new one, or at least the true of who Vision is at his core, which he draws from the Mind Stone, right? The Mind Stone in Jarvis. But as soon as I saw that, and I was just like, oh man, Arris's dream, Arris's wish, and mine too. Because I was like, I don't know if they're gonna bring him back. Now I was like, okay, they're gonna actually do this. They're gonna wind up merging him, and he's gonna wind up coming back. I thought the same thing, but when I saw White Vision at the end, and because I thought the same thing, I thought Arc Reactor, the blue color that they had in there, I thought immediately of Ultron.
Yes.
Immediately I thought of Ultron.
Like bringing him back. Yep.
And I was, because you look back at what they did with Age of Ultron. Of course, in the comics, we know that it's Hank Pym who is, largely responsible for the creation of Ultron. But in the MCU,
not Tony Stark.
and not Tony Stark. But in the MCU, they made it Tony Stark. And, so much about like these technologies and so forth in the MCU is Stark tech. And especially that which S.H.I.E.L.D. uses. It's almost all Stark tech, right? So I immediately thought, I was like, okay, well, they held on to Vision's body. Who's to say they also weren't able to extract a piece of Ultron from the web, or however they might have done it, and they weren't able to completely destroy Ultron. They held on to that in the hopes of being able to use it. And then once they got Vision's body, we're like, hey, we can combine these two things and we can just make sure to control it. That sort of a deal. So I'm wondering, are we also going to, initially, is Vision going to have to face off with Ultron again? And are we going to get this Ultron powered version of a white Vision? So there's so many possibilities that running through my head of like what they could be actually doing here. That it's so much fun because they've made it to where we can do the whole like speculate for days on this stuff.
For sure.
And thankfully we're going to see tomorrow. We're going to learn the answers to all these questions. But there's so many different ways that it's going to
be funny for everyone listening to this after the fact to be like, they had no idea at that time. No clue.
Yeah. So, hopefully you're listening to this before you watch the episode, because we're going to have this out a day before. So, you guys will be able to speculate for at least a day. And then after that, there's no excuses because we got it before. But, but yeah, there's so many different, but I agree with you now. And now I was leaning away from your hopes and dreams. Now I'm with you. I'm leaning towards your hopes and dreams that we're going to get Vision back.
But it makes sense too because of how much they made you love Vision in this series.
Without a doubt.
Which could be like two ways. They're doing that only to be like, yeah, you really, really love him. Now we're going to kill him again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just to rip your heart out in the end.
Exactly. But on the other side of that, they're making you love him because it's like, oh yeah, no, he's a mainstay again. You know what I mean? He's back. So I feel like that's what's going to happen. I mean, you're not going to freaking introduce White. That is like, no matter how they do it, it's like, just like in the comics, it's where like, you're not going to bring this, literally rebuild his body and then not somehow have his consciousness go back into the body you just rebuilt. You know what I mean? Like that's just crazy. Again, it would kind of be funny too, because it's the opposite. I've said it, a few times already, but it's the opposite of the books where it's like White Vision's mind went into the other Vision to get his normal body back, but this way would be swapped. So I wonder how, Wanda could simply, I guess, just change the color of the costume, or so could, anyone working at S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatnot. But I think that would be really funny. Or maybe they keep him white for a while, like in the books, because he was White Vision for a little bit. So maybe they just keep him that color for a little while, which would be pretty dope because he looks pretty awesome, all white. Like that looks pretty dang cool.
It does look cool. I'm wondering if they go that route. I have to imagine I don't think that they would keep him white. I think they would probably look to avoid that to differentiate between the good and the bad.
Yeah. Well, comic fun fact. The reason why when they brought him back in the books, they made him white is because originally Vision was intended to be white to go along with his name Vision because he was a ghostly character. He could phase, right? Mm-hmm. But they couldn't do it because making him white at the time back then with the way printers and stuff worked in like the 70s and you just know several years ago, he would just be the color of whatever the paper was. Because they didn't have
be able to see him.
Right. He didn't have they didn't use white ink. He would just be whatever the paper was. So they didn't do it. They had to make him colored. But when, flash forward years after its creation, they had the technology to actually put white ink down. They were like, this is our chance. Let's make him white for a little bit. So I think that's just kind of, just a little cool fun fact. So it would be cool to keep him like that for a while if they choose to go that way, to keep him that color, that is.
Well, it worked out all these years later, fast forward, and we're getting this storyline. So yeah, very, very interesting, man. There's so many ways it could go. I'm kind of leaning towards the possibility of the Ultron, concept, because I think that would be an interesting dichotomy there, just trying to, because where he has to purge Ultron out of the body again and
here's a question: what do you think his voice is going to sound like? Do you think he's even going to talk? Is he just going to be a mindless weapon?
Like, will it be James Spader? Do you mean?
Right? Will it be James Spader? Will it be Paul Bettany? Or will he just be a mindless weapon who doesn't talk? He's just controlled by sword.
That is a good point. I mean, it's the MCU, so I imagine it wouldn't be.
Dude, if they get
James
Spader back,
would not be. He would not hesitate to come back and reprise that role.
Nuts, because
that would be wild.
Because it would also finally fix. Because one of my main complaints was, one of the complaints that everyone has with the MCU is like the one and done villains, and so really popular villains, like one like freaking Ultron. It's like, you don't kill Ultron. That is you defeat him, but you don't get rid of him permanently. He needs to come back around. You know what I mean?
And that's another possibility. What if this is their way of bringing Ultron back and him becoming a more consistent villain or longer lasting villain in the MCU?
Oh man, that would be great. That would give some
redemption.
Wild. It's like, yes, because that was I'm like, Ultron really, like, literally, that is
right.
Quite possibly the most popular Avengers villain. I mean, now most people would say Thanos, but that's only because of the movies. But like before that, most people like who read the comics would be like, yeah, this is probably Ultron. You know what I mean? So
without any doubt, and that was actually one of, like you said, that was one of the biggest complaints that most Marvel fans had about the Age of Ultron movie. It was like, how do you make Ultron, of all characters, a one and done villain?
Yeah, it's to put it in perspective, it's almost as crazy, not as crazy, but almost as crazy as them like killing the Joker off, in the first movie. It's like, what? You can't kill the Joker?
Arena, yeah.
It's not as drastic, but it's like, it's close. It's close. Dude, I think this is the longest we've talked about a WandaVision episode. We're over an hour just talking about the episode.
Dude, there was so much to unpack. There's so much to unpack in just that one episode, as far as like first of all, the theories that it pretty much nixed, or seemingly so. Some of them I would say definitively, but some others, seemingly nixed, and how many other possibilities it kicked open. It was again, this show has just gotten progressively better as it's gone on. And it's just been a lot of fun to talk about, as you guys have seen, because we've been talking about it every week. And I hope you guys have been kind of enjoying along with us as we've been just ranting about this show.
Well, Tim, as we transition out of WandaVision, because we've, I think, said our piece with it.
I think we've said as much as we can say for now.
Let's go to another favorite topic of yours, the Snyderverse. Snyder Cut, Tim.
What?
The Snyder Cut. We got more information. We have to end every episode with the Snyder Cut. We got more info on it, Tim. Because Snyder can't
This is
stop.
The thing.
Dude,
this is the thing, right?
Even this morning, I was seeing new images that he released.
Temporarily released Tim Connolly's voicemail.
No. We have things, Tim.
Has this Joker sincerely, has he released more?
Dude, he's almost releasing 2 new images every day. Like this morning, I saw 3 new stills.
Okay. And this is true. I intentionally do not follow him for this reason. So I don't know any of this.
No, but that's the thing.
I don't know any of this.
I don't follow him either. It's just all the other DC related and comic book feeds I follow are posting it because it's news. So they're like, hey, look at this new Deathstroke picture. Hey, look what Snyder just confirmed about the Snyder Cut. And it's just, coming out.
I'm avoiding this stuff like a plague until I see the film, because it's just gotten so out of hand. And you, as an evil soul, deep in your heart, with just malice toward all, the opposite of Lincoln's line, you just want to torture me.
Well,
deep,
if
down.
If it means anything, I'm only going to say one thing because I technically have two, right? Because we can't really elaborate on images. I mean, plus at this point, it's like, oh, we got a different angle of Batman. Oh, we got a different picture of Cyborg. It's like, cool, let's just see the movie. But one of the things that he said and that got spoiled for me actually made me mad because I'm like, oh no, that's a legit spoiler. I would have liked to see that in the freaking movie. I wouldn't want to know that. So I'm not going to say it because I don't want to ruin it for you and I don't want to ruin it for anyone listening. So just know.
Thank the Lord Almighty.
Just know I was annoyed. I was like,
but also,
come on, man, I want to see
let's just touch on that. Let's just touch on that for just a second. The simple fact that we know that exists, that proves my whole freaking point.
From Snyder himself, it's not even from, that's the thing that annoyed me the most. It's not like a fan or a screener or something got out. No. Snyder himself said in an interview,
Of course he did.
And I'm like, dude, I would have loved to see that story element for the first time without knowing. Now I know that's going to happen. Thanks.
Bro, I'm telling you, I said it last week. I said it in the last episode. I stand by it. The man is an addict. He can't stop himself. He thinks he's still in release the Snyder Cut mode. He can't stop himself. Someone needs to they need to get him off Vero. It's gotten out of hand. He's ruining the film. I'm telling you, it's so crazy. But the fact that there's something that he's released to the world that you won't even bring up, it just proves my point. Put the phone down, man.
You don't know. It could be his iPad. You don't know.
Step away from electronic devices.
But the other one is a twofer. It's like because it kind of blends into each other. So basically, one, he confirmed, he flat out said, and I believe in an interview, I don't know with who, and a interview with someone, that he will absolutely direct and do a Justice League 2, which is kind of like, duh, but like he said verbal confirmation, which is everyone's like, oh, now he actually confirmed it. So, but obviously he would do a number 2. So that's out in the world. So, Warner Brothers, everyone knows.
Was he saying that in the sense of like, if I can, I will, or yes, he was saying we're doing that?
No, he said it. If they let me, I will. So it's not like they are doing one. It's just like if Warner Brothers approves it, yes, I will 100% on board to do a Justice League Part 2. Yeah, exactly. It's just he finally came out and said it verbally. But the other one leads right into this. He also came out and confirmed that a Justice League 2 would almost entirely be within the Nightmare universe. So almost the entirety of that movie would take place in the post-apocalyptic Nightmare universe with the Nightmare Batman, Joker, Deathstroke, Flash in that armored suit, all that stuff, which I thought is really interesting. I'm like, yeah. So what happens most of the movie is literally in this what if post-apocalyptic future to then throw us back to the present and or past to be like, yeah, but we stopped that universe from happening. So he wants to jump back and forth a lot, which means, because we already know, which he spoiled, that this first 4-hour movie is going to be like end on a massive cliffhanger. So, I feel like it's going to with how the Snyder Cut happened, I think like it's not a matter of if JL2 is going to happen, and more so when it's going to happen. You know what I mean?
If this is successful, like really successful, and Warner Brothers makes a bunch of money off of it, and it builds their subscriber base in a significant way, I would say it's a foregone conclusion. Like
for sure,
that's a given. And as far as any second film being rooted in the Nightmare universe, that one for me also isn't a surprise because that had long been discussed and speculated before, even when he was making the first Justice League film before he stepped away. They had discussed that there was going to be a multi-film arc, and that the Justice League was going to end up losing at first, and then they were going to have to fight their way out of it. Darkseid was essentially going to win. It was going to be kind of a Thanos arc.
Yeah, but it's interesting to me though, because we knew that it was going to be revisited, and it's definitely going to be revisited in this current Snyder Cut, the first one, part 1, I guess, if you will, as we've seen in the trailer and stuff like that, and multiple images. But I didn't realize that the second movie, most of it would be in the Nightmare universe. I thought it would just do a lot of jumping back and forth, not like, oh, we're going to get like Nightmare Batman a lot, you know what I mean? Or like we're going to see Batman team up with the Joker in this world, because at this point it's like we gotta band together or everyone's gonna die. So essentially what he's saying is if we get a number 2, or I guess maybe even this first one, we're gonna see Joker and Batman team up, which is kind of crazy.
That's
right?
crazy.
So
That's
thankfully
crazy.
he hasn't spoiled anything for that, but give it another few days where he's like, oh yeah,
give him 5 minutes.
the Joker and Batman are literally back to back shooting like their opponents, like all freaking Martin Lawrence and Will Smith style.
It's the freaking worst, man. It's the freaking worst. I'm telling you, I don't understand why he is so hellbent, so intent on spoiling this film for the fans. It's almost like okay, you got your movie, and now I'm just gonna self-indulgently air all of the thing because I'm impatient. It's like, what are you doing, bro?
We also got an official runtime, which is just like, we knew it was 4 hours, but it's 4 hours, 1 minute, and I believe 26 or 28 seconds. So that's
very specific.
Yeah, right. They released the official runtime. I don't have it up. I'm not looking at it, but I believe it was 4. I know it's 4 hours and 1 minute and something seconds. I think it's like 26 seconds or something. But either way, that's a long freaking movie, man. That is
it's
very
2 movies.
Long movie. It's 2 movies is all it is, which is nuts. Basically, because that means if he does a number 2, like, would that also be 4 hours or?
It's a great question.
Because then you're Peter Jacksoning it at that point where you're just like, oh no, this is gonna be my masterpiece that people will write on my freaking tombstone. Had a 4-hour Justice League movie.
Yeah, that is a really good question. Is if they do that, are they going to continue to make these films? Is this going to be just like another epic?
But dude, was everyone going to be on board?
Could you imagine if this is just a 2 films? If they just make 2 films combined? I mean, or if he makes it they let him make a trilogy, it's going to be freaking Lord of the Rings.
100%. He would full on be Peter Jackson in it at this point, which would be nuts.
No doubt. Which is, as far as the superhero world, it's totally unprecedented.
Oh, for sure. So, we're like, what, 2.5 weeks out? So, I just want to see it already.
Yes, say that again. Say that one more time. We're only 2 weeks out.
Dude,
2.5 weeks or whatever. Just leave it alone.
You know what I want? You know what? Because again, I am super excited to see this movie. We talk about this every freaking week because I have to torture you with it at the end of the episode. But
yes, you do.
But I'm super excited. I want to see Ben Affleck and the cowl again and all that stuff. But rather than that, since we know the movie's coming out in a few weeks here and we know it's done, it's set, got a release date, runtime, everything, trailer, we know it's set in stone. What I want is some more The Batman footage and teases. That's what I want because I don't want
too much.
No, not too much, but I want another. I think I want another trailer. Bit. I want one more trailer.
I just need another palate cleanse. I just need just something else to just.
I need one more trailer.
A little snack morsel.
I need one more trailer where we see Batman interacting with the Penguin and or the Riddler, and I need to see him driving in the Batmobile doing something crazy. That's what I need.
Without any freaking doubt, man.
Because we see him rev up the engine in the first teaser trailer, but I need to see him freaking drifting the streets of Gotham. That's what I need.
Man, dude, I'm so jacked up, and we're so far away from that.
No, it was going to come out this year. How crazy is that?
Know.
How crazy is that? We would have been months away.
It's so painful because we're looking at literally not just 2022. We're looking at fall of 2022 toward the end, the latter half.
Aren't they done shooting? They're done shooting, no?
I don't think so.
Because
I don't know. I don't know if they are.
Because I know they started back up 2 weeks in. They had to stop because Robert Pattinson got COVID, and then that put them out for like 3 weeks or a month, and then they started back up again. And that was months ago.
It's gone quiet. I haven't heard anything about it since.
You know what? We need to Google that. I need to know.
But I do know that they've been shooting. They went back to shooting. I know that. I don't know where it's at.
Interesting. Either way, they have more than enough. But if they released that teaser trailer at like the middle of last year, and they were shooting well after that, I need more. They have more footage for sure. Because by the time they got shut down, they were only shooting it, I believe, for like a month or so, and they were able to put all that together. So we know they have way more footage now. I want a trailer, Reeves. Reeves, give me a trailer. Come on.
Matt Reeves is smart though, man. He's just gonna put just enough out there to
Dude,
just
the music, the tone,
get everybody hyped again. And
yeah, it's been a while since I've actually seen that trailer. I need to watch it again. I need to do it.
It's so good.
I remember for the first week, I would watch it every morning to start my day.
You know what? Rightly so. Rightly freaking so. This is of all the films coming out, as much as we're raving and ranting about Marvel and how much more impressive the direction that they're going, or have more fun the direction that they're going is than we anticipated. Still hands down, without any hesitation, the film, the superhero film, the comic book centric film that I am just waiting anxiously for. It is the Batman.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I don't even have to say that. Everyone who knows anything about me knows my end-all be-all is Batman. So you just say Batman, and it's like, yeah, obviously that's my most anticipated movie. But the fact that it looks absolutely incredible and could potentially be the best Batman movie we've ever gotten just has me like, I want
it. Without any doubt, man, it is going to be a ton of fun. And I just wish it wasn't so far off. Well, by the time, you got to look at it like this too. By the time it comes out, we're still going to be watching Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League because of how long it is. So we'll be occupied during that time period.
Oh man. I'm so dude, when we freaking recap or give our thoughts on the Snyder cut, because it's a 4-hour movie, dude. Like, that's going to be a lot.
We may have to break that down into a part 1, part 2.
Legitimately, because depending, especially what happens, if there's that many reveals and cameos and teases and a big of a cliffhanger of like, oh, where is this going? Like, that's big. Like, what if for all we know, he did cast Tom Cruise as Green Lantern and that's the cliffhanger?
Dude, could you imagine if it was something like that?
Oh my God, that'd be nuts. Ryan Reynolds, people are asking Ryan Reynolds and they're like, no, it's not me. I promise.
It's not me. Everybody calm down.
The mouse bought me out.
It's true. That is absolutely true. The thing is, for me too, on top of the runtime, and we almost forgot to bring this up, is the aspect ratio deal with the freaking Justice League that came out.
Oh, that's right. The confirmed aspect ratio. Oh, yes.
So he finally releases the trailer, and we learn that, everybody I'm sure noticed that it was in a more boxed in, aspects ratio that looked more like what you would see on your old television set. And you find out that the reason that he did it is because of, the IMAX format that they were filming in originally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay. And, when we saw the trailer, the first thing you said to me was just like, dude, if they make that, if they keep that the format the entire time, that's going to suck. And my response was, no way. There's no way that he would do that. That would be really aggravating and off-putting, because that's not the way we saw the original film, and that's not the way what he did with Batman v Superman, and nobody does that and all that kind of thing. Which again, just to be fair, I don't have a problem with creators using various aspect ratios at their creative whim, as to match their creative vision. Right? I don't have a problem with that. But anyway, the point is they try different things to give films a different look and so forth. And Zack Snyder, just happens to love the scalability of the IMAX format. And I'm like, okay, cool. But we're not watching it on IMAX, bro.
Dude, what? Because you know what it is? Because it's kind of like the WandaVision thing, right? Because they were doing the old school TV shows, the format. So the sides of our screen was cut off, but it was fine because that was intentional for that. And it would break out of it when it went into, the real world. But seeing a 4-hour movie in that box ratio on not an IMAX screen is going to be, because a lot of the internet was like, oh, that's just the Instagram version of it. So it fits better on the phones and stuff like that. That's not going to be the movie. Nope. That's the movie. So what you see, how you see the trailer when you look it up on YouTube, that will be the 4-hour film, just like that, which is nuts. I'm like, because I have a nice TV. I have a nice big TV surround sound system.
I know.
I want it. It's like, what's the point of having a big TV if you're only letting me use half of it? You know what I mean? Like, I want all the 65 inches, not 35 of the inches. You know what I mean? Like, what's happening? Ugh.
I mean, okay. I didn't want we don't want to get too far into the weeds with the whole thing. And I get okay, it's a creative, stylistic preference for Zack Snyder, who is the creator. It's well within his rights.
For sure.
And to do it, he liked the look of 35 millimeter film for Justice League.
It's his Snyder cut. He could do whatever he wants.
It's his cut. He's doing it exactly the way he envisioned. He shot the whole film originally on 35 millimeter. Right, because he liked the look. He wanted to go back to a more.
I love how I'm agreeing with you, so defeated. I'm like, he can do what he wants. It is his. That's right. I mean, if it was mine, I could do what I want.
Exactly. And since for a long time when people shoot on 35 millimeter, they stretch it out and you lose a certain amount of the information on the film. So he wants to put it in the 1371 so that you get the full. The full embodiment of the image. So I get it. And there, you got people saying, oh, you're not going to lose. You're actually going to gain more and all that kind of thing. But we're talking about everyone has widescreen televisions, right? That's the thing.
Well, yeah, TVs are rectangles. They're not squares.
Exactly. We are all watching these things on our flat screen TVs. So you're going to have, you're going to lose a good portion of your viewing landscape. While you are the image, you're going to see more aspects of the image that was filmed. You're going to be watching it on a smaller overall landscape. So that's the issue that's going to be off-putting for some. It's like whatever. Okay, fine. Is it good? Is it the end of the world? No, but I guess the thing is that it comes as just one more thing with this cut where it's just like, but why? Why do that?
Because it's literally called Snyder's Justice League or Zack Snyder's Justice League.
I guess in addition to him constantly releasing. I don't want to make it sound like his cut of the film has a whole bunch of different things. It's in addition to him doing all of these different releases and so on and so forth. That's the big thing.
Yeah, I mean, but again, it all comes back to because it's literally called Zack Snyder's Justice League, so he could do whatever the freak he wants.
Without any doubt, he can. And this is a total nitpick, by the way. The whole thing is a nitpick.
Yeah.
Because it is his
I
film.
feel like it's very valid. I think lots of people are going to be surprised to find out that the whole movie is... Because most people are just thinking...
I mean, you were.
Yeah, because again, like most people, I thought it was just formatted because everyone nowadays formats their videos for like TikTok, Instagram stuff to fit that ratio so it just fits better inside the app. I didn't think that the whole movie was going to be like that. But I guess in hindsight, because even on YouTube, the actual trailers like that, which you watch on computer screens, on your smart TVs, it's still like that. It makes sense. It's like, oh no, it was there all along. Like, it's like that in the trailer because that's how the movie is. You know what I mean? So, okay. Again, I don't, that's not my taste. And like everything you just said, he's the creator. This is Zack Snyder's Justice League. He was given free range to do whatever he wants. So fine. Just my personal taste, I would imagine, like most, would rather it be normal widescreen ratio. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It really boils down to, in the end, it boils down to as far as like why he chose it is because he wants everyone to see the entirety of the image that he shot.
Which, again, to be fair, fine. But...
Because the way he filmed it, on the 35, the way he shot the film, like you can do it on an IMAX screen because it'll fit that differently.
For sure.
But with the the flat widescreen, conversion, you're going to lose parts of the image.
You know what?
But most people aren't going to know that. I guess that's really the bottom line. Is most people wouldn't know that and wouldn't know any difference and would probably still prefer just have their whole TV working for them to where they can watch the whole thing across their entire 65, in your case, 65 inch, whatever.
Yeah. I guess the only solution here is I have to buy an IMAX screen. I think that's the only route I can go now. So I'm going to have to...
I agree with you. I think the only solution is for you to buy an IMAX screen.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go on Amazon because what doesn't Amazon have? I'm going to have it shipped here 2 days prime. And it's going to be bigger than any wall in my house. So I'm probably going to have to set up in the backyard and see what happens.
Let me tell you something. If you manage to find an IMAX screen on Amazon, I will be severely impressed.
I mean, and all,
not just with you, but with Jeff Bezos. That's really moving up.
I mean, you know what? Let's find out. I mean, I was joking. I don't think I'm gonna, but let's see. IMAX screen. I got the app up on my phone. I'm gonna do it, man. Let's find out. This is science.
Why not?
This is science.
Why not? This is for posterity and science.
Because on the 0.1 chance that it's on there,
the 0.00001%.
Let's see, IMAX movie screen. Let's see. Nope. I mean, we got 4Ks.
Yeah, no.
We got 110 inch.
We've got tickets.
We got a
20-foot
IMAX screen, blow up jumbo screen, 20 feet for your backyard. That's close enough, right?
No, not quite the same.
No,
I mean, it's just
fine.
a little bit smaller.
It's fine. It's only 100, a couple, like what?
touch.
It's like 100 feet short or something like that. It's fine.
Yeah, just only a couple of floors.
Tell you what, we could just purchase an IMAX theater. They ain't doing nothing right now.
We'll split it.
Yeah, they're not doing anything right now. Most of them in the country are shut down.
Absolutely, they're looking for money.
Exactly,
they need some investors.
And
so it's like, look, we'll come in as investors. We just want one of the screens. That's all.
But it also gives us haggle room because it's like, come on, really, we can haggle.
You do know I love to haggle.
Yeah. Oh, this went off the rails.
Yeah, we went in a new direction. But anyway.
The Snyder Cut's still coming, Tim. Are you excited?
Oh, I am actually. I'm excited for the movie.
No, you're not excited for the probably the 4 images we're gonna get on Vero tomorrow?
No,
you don't.
No, I'm going to ignore that you said that, and I'm going to hope that this conversation doesn't come up next week.
What about that new teaser trailer that he brought out, but with the origin of the mother boxes, which was like this all CGI cinematic thing? You don't want to know about that?
Just stop.
Just stop. You don't want to know about that?
I just want it to stop. That's what I want.
There's a bunch of Easter eggs in there.
Stop.
They're like, oh my God, Batman's in chains, which symbolizes this, and there's a Joker card, and I'm like,
I have a tremendous ability to block things out. And I'm going to do that between now and March 18th. And I'm just going to reshape history in my mind as no, he didn't spoil 3/4 of the film before we got to see it.
Could you imagine if the film comes out and he's still releasing things that he didn't put in his Snyder Cut?
Dude.
That he's like, I was going to put this in, but I decided it didn't work, so I didn't. And we still keep getting images from it.
Dude.
You know that is not like out of the realm of possibility. He's like
nothing. He has proven that nothing is outside the realm of possibility. Absolutely nothing.
You gotta love the dude in the sense though that he is really passionate about his movie. So if anything, you can't say
that.
He is not. You cannot say he does not have that fire in him.
Yeah. Okay. I'm cool, dude. Cool. I respect that. I love that he's passionate about his story, but be respectful of the fans, man. That's my thing. Be respectful of all of the people who helped you get this done. Like that's my bottom line. It's like, we want to see the film. We don't want you spoiling the entirety of your cut of the film before we actually get to see it. Stand down, Zack Snyder. Stand down.
And with that concludes today's podcast.
Before Tim gets himself in trouble.
But in all seriousness, we talked some good WandaVision. We got our theories out. We broke that sucker down, and I got to torture you with the Snyder Cut again.
Yeah, and I'm just pretending like none of it is happening.
Exactly. But we're gonna be back here next week. talking about all the revelations or things we still didn't find out with the finale of WandaVision, because that's the big one.
That's right.
That is the big one. So I think we're gonna have a
That
lot
is the big daddy, yeah.
to unpack there. That episode's probably gonna entirely be WandaVision if the first 8 episodes is any indication of what we had to unpack.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I think we've only got a couple days left, and I am excited to see where it all goes and wraps up.
I think I have to stay up till 2 a.m. to see, because I feel like that episode is gonna get spoiled for me. And I usually every Friday I try to stay up, because I personally like to watch it at the end of the night, like around 10 o'clock at night, where my kids are in bed, my wife's watching something in the bedroom, and I'm in the living room watching that. But I know that means I have to avoid internet all day long, which in this day and age, unfortunately, especially for what we do and what I do, it's really hard.
Not easy.
Even not like the reflex, right? We're so bad, and addicted to social media. It's like you don't even realize it. You just instinctively click Instagram. It's like, crap, no, what am I doing? Don't go on Instagram. And so I really think I'm either gonna have to watch it at 2 a.m. on in the morning when it goes live, or I'm gonna have to delete freaking Instagram and Twitter off my phone. But then sometimes some of my stupid friends are like, did you watch the episode you see with that? I'm like, no, stop that. Shut up. Shut up. What are you doing?
Yeah, a lot of the people I know, they know what we do for a living. So it's like they already know. They know to tread very lightly.
But we both have a mutual friend who I'm not going to name names because I don't want to put him out there as that guy.
Shall remain nameless.
But he says things sometimes. We're like, it's not a spoiler. I'm like, no, it's a spoiler. Okay. It's a spoiler. He's like, no, but I was like, now I know that they reveal who the bad guy is, and I didn't want to know that they revealed who the bad guy is. So even though you didn't tell me who the bad guy is, that's still a spoiler because now I know they revealed the bad guy. So be quiet, please.
That's my favorite thing, right? Is when you tell someone before they even start talking, they're like, just don't tell me anything. Don't tell me anything. I don't want to know. And they go, no, I'm not going to say any spoilers. And then they blurt something out and you're like, dude, that you're telling me something about the story. No, I'm just saying this. And you're like, I asked you, just don't say anything. I just don't even want to know.
Dude,
they just can't help themselves. Some people.
Insane. Freaking insane. So it got to the point where
we love them anyway, though.
Yeah. I'm just okay. I'll end it there. I was gonna keep going because it frustrates me, but I'll just stop. I'm like, no, dude.
Woosah.
Anyway, I love him dearly, despite his spoilerific tendencies.
That's right. We even love you, spoilerific individuals out there.
But with all that said, we'll see you guys next time when we talk about all things comics.